Welcome to our show, Immigration Briefing. Today, we've got a range of stories that are sure to grab your attention. First up, we have the heartwarming news of Devarshi Deka, an international student from India, who has been granted permanent residency in Australia after being left paraplegic from an alleged assault in Hobart. His family and friends rallied together with a community campaign to ensure his future in Australia. Next, we dive into the political arena where Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has made significant changes to his cabinet, focusing on immigration and housing. These shifts aim to tackle declining public confidence and rejuvenate the government's approach ahead of the next election. Lastly, we explore the uncertainty surrounding Australia's student visa policy following Tony Burke's new appointment as the Minister for Home Affairs and Immigration. Former officials are questioning the long-term vision for the university sector under this new leadership. Please stay tuned for more details on these stories. Australian Broadcasting Corporation, Devarshi Deka, an international student from India studying at the University of Tasmania, has been granted permanent residency in Australia after a tragic incident left him paraplegic. Last November, Deka was assaulted during a night out in Hobart, which resulted in significant brain damage and partial blindness. His friends and family, concerned about his future as his student visa neared expiration, launched a crowdfunding campaign and lobbied for his permanent residency. Their efforts were successful, with outgoing Immigration Minister Andrew Giles approving the visa just before transitioning out of his role. Advocate Rick Kaushik expressed immense relief and gratitude for the community and political support that made this possible, emphasizing the life-changing impact of this decision for Deka and his family. Australian Broadcasting Corporation, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has conducted a significant reshuffle of his front bench, aiming to address vulnerabilities in immigration and housing as voter confidence in his government wanes. This move comes amid findings from an ANU study showing that public confidence in the Albanese government is only marginally higher than it was for the previous Morrison coalition government. Albanese has replaced Andrew Giles with Tony Burke in the immigration portfolio, hoping Burke's experience will help tackle issues such as high immigration numbers and public dissatisfaction. Claire O'Neill has been reassigned to the housing and homelessness portfolio to better communicate Labour's plans amid rising anger over housing affordability. The reshuffle also includes the appointment of new special envoys to address social cohesion, defence, and cybersecurity, reflecting the government's broader strategy to regain public trust and address pressing economic and social issues. Australian Broadcasting Corporation, the recent cabinet reshuffle by Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has left the future of student and skilled visa policies in a state of uncertainty, according to migration expert Abul Rizvi. Tony Burke's appointment to the Home Affairs portfolio, while intended to address broader immigration issues, raises questions about the long-term vision for the university sector and the controversial student visa policies. The reshuffle includes moving ASIO back to the Attorney General's department, signaling a shift away from the previous coalition government's mega portfolio approach. Critics, including acting Nationals leader Bridget McKenzie, have expressed concerns about the dismantling of the Home Affairs portfolio and its impact on national security. The government's recent decision to cap international student numbers and increase visa fees has sparked debate about housing costs and Australia's competitiveness in the global education market. Rizvi hopes Burke will reconsider these policies, emphasizing the need for a market-driven approach to international education and immigration. The Independent. Over the past 4 years, anti-trafficking activist Layla Micklethwait has become a polarizing figure, known for spearheading the Trafficking Hub campaign against Pornhub, which she accuses of hosting videos rooted in abuse and trafficking. Her book, Takedown: Inside the Fight to Shut Down Pornhub for Abuse, Rape, and Sex Trafficking, details her battle against the site, which she describes as a super predator site. Micklethwait's campaign gained momentum with a viral petition and was bolstered by media coverage from the New York Times and the New Yorker. Despite Pornhub's claims of rigorous content moderation, Micklethwait and her supporters argue that the platform's lax verification processes enable the spread of abusive content. The campaign's success led to significant changes at Pornhub, including the suspension of unverified uploads and the implementation of stricter ID verification processes. However, critics argue that Micklethwait's associations with far-right and anti-porn groups have undermined her efforts, painting the adult industry as inherently evil and pushing performers into less regulated corners of the industry. Guardian, Visa and MasterCard's consumer advertising efforts are primarily about building brand loyalty and attracting new cardholders. While the final decision on which card network to use rests with the issuing bank, consumers often develop a preference for certain brands due to familiarity and trust built through advertising. Campaigns like Visa's Everywhere You Want to Be and MasterCard's Priceless aim to highlight the convenience, global acceptance, and unique experiences associated with their cards. Advertising also encourages more frequent card usage by promoting cashback offers, reward points, and exclusive discounts. Additionally, advertising high-end card offerings helps attract affluent consumers who typically have higher transaction values. In markets where cash is still heavily utilized, such as parts of Asia, Visa and MasterCard compete with app-based payment systems like WeChat Pay and Alipay. Overall, their advertising strategies focus on reinforcing brand dominance, increasing card usage, and appealing to both new and existing cardholders. Yahoo US. In the aftermath of the Silicon Valley Bank failure, more U.S. regional banks are selling underwater bonds at a loss to prepare for anticipated interest rate cuts from the Federal Reserve. Unlike Silicon Valley Bank, which sold bonds to pay depositors, these regional banks are using the proceeds to buy new, higher-yielding bonds. Notable banks like PNC Financial Services Group, Truist, Regions, and Webster have taken significant losses on bond sales but aim to lock in better yields for the future. For example, PNC took a $500 million loss but reinvested in securities with yields 400 basis points higher. Truist took a $5.1 billion after-tax loss but bought new bonds yielding 5.27%. While not all regional banks are making such moves, those that do hope to benefit from lower rate environments in the future. However, the direction of interest rates and the challenges of high deposit costs, troubled borrowers, and lackluster profits remain significant concerns for regional lenders. Yahoo US. When Donald Trump took office in 2017, he issued a controversial executive order banning travel from Muslim-majority countries, which led to chaos and numerous lawsuits that reached the Supreme Court. Now, Trump has pledged to end birthright citizenship if he wins the upcoming election. In a campaign video, he promised to sign an executive order on his first day in office to ensure that children born to undocumented parents in the U.S. would not be granted citizenship. This proposal challenges the 14th Amendment, which has long been interpreted to grant citizenship to anyone born on U.S. soil. Legal experts predict inevitable litigation, as Trump's plan would face significant constitutional hurdles. The Supreme Court upheld a diluted version of Trump's travel ban, but ending birthright citizenship might be a step too far. If Trump loses the case, amending the Constitution would be the next step, a challenging and lengthy process. Critics argue that the proposal would create bureaucratic chaos, requiring federal agencies to verify parents' immigration status, complicating the issuance of social security numbers and passports for newborns. Japan Times. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has reshuffled his cabinet, preparing for a challenging election within the next 10 months. Key changes include Tony Burke taking over the Home Affairs and Immigration Ministries, while Claire O'Neill will address the housing crisis as the new housing minister. This reshuffle aims to promote high-performing ministers and address the retirements of key figures like Minister for Indigenous Australians Linda Burney and Skills and Training Minister Brendan O'Connor. Albanese's adjustments reflect his strategic preparation for the upcoming election, focusing on critical areas such as immigration and housing, which are pivotal issues for Australian voters. Deutsche Welle. Immigrants in Germany are increasingly frustrated with the bureaucratic hurdles in obtaining citizenship. Maria Zadneprianets, a Russian software developer, shared her disillusionment after a 4-year struggle with Berlin's bureaucracy, feeling like a second-class citizen. Despite integrating well into German society, her citizenship application has faced long delays and repeated requests for documents. Many immigrants, like Imran Ahmed from Pakistan, have resorted to legal action to expedite their applications. The Berlin authorities are overwhelmed with a backlog of 40,000 old applications, some dating back to 2005, and are receiving an influx of new applications due to recent naturalization law reforms. This bureaucratic inefficiency has led to significant stress and disillusionment among skilled migrants who contribute to German society. Despite efforts to streamline the process, the backlog and increasing number of applications suggest that the situation may worsen before it improves. South China Morning Post. Paris, often hailed for its charm and cultural richness, is also praised by its foreign residents for its inclusiveness and opportunities. Seko from Mali, now an Uber driver, appreciates the city's potential for dream chasing, while Ausman, a food truck owner born in France, acknowledges the inclusivity but points out the challenges for non-French speakers. Shaney from Jamaica and Robinson Perry from the U.S., both volunteers for the Paris Olympics, share their experiences of learning French and integrating into the city, emphasizing the importance of language proficiency. Despite the generally positive views, occasional cultural misunderstandings, like an awkward encounter on the metro, highlight the subjective nature of these experiences. The Sydney Morning Herald, Tony Burke, a seasoned politician, finds himself once again navigating the complex portfolio of immigration and home affairs, facing off against the formidable Peter Dutton. Burke's previous tenure as Minister for Employment and Workplace Relations has been marked by a high media profile and union-friendly policies. His role as leader of the House involves strategic legislative management, a task he shares a history with Prime Minister Anthony Albanese. The government's challenge lies in addressing public concerns about immigration following a High Court ruling that led to the release of detainees with serious criminal histories. Burke's task is to transform this contentious issue into a strength for the government, while Claire O'Neill tackles the pressing issue of housing affordability, aiming to reassure an anxious electorate. South China Morning Post. In a bid to address scandals and public dissatisfaction, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has overhauled the immigration and national security portfolios, replacing Ministers Claire O'Neill and Andrew Giles with Tony Burke. The Department of Home Affairs has been under scrutiny since a court ruling forced the release of over 100 immigration detainees, many with serious criminal records. This decision exposed flaws in Australia's long-standing detention policy, which has been criticised as punitive and arbitrary. The released detainees, some of whom committed further crimes, prompted the government to impose strict monitoring conditions. The policy's origins date back to the early 1990s, aimed at curbing illegal immigration, but it has faced significant backlash from human rights advocates and international bodies. The Sydney Morning Herald. Tony Burke will take on a super portfolio of home affairs and immigration in a ministerial reshuffle as Prime Minister Anthony Albanese gears up to challenge the coalition in the next federal election. Burke, who was previously the Minister for Employment and Workplace Relations, will now oversee two of the most politically sensitive areas. Murray Watt will assume Burke's former role, while Julie Collins moves from housing to agriculture, and Mallory McCarthy will replace Linda Burney as Indigenous Australians Minister. This reshuffle follows retirements within the ministry and aims to provide stability and consistency. The opposition's Home Affairs spokesman, James Patterson, criticized the move as an admission of failure by the government, citing the chaos of the past 2 years. Australian Broadcasting Corporation, Claire O'Neill and Andrew Giles have been moved from the Home Affairs and Immigration portfolios as part of Prime Minister Anthony Albanese's cabinet reshuffle. O'Neill will now be the housing minister, and Giles will handle skills and training, which has been demoted from the cabinet. Tony Burke will take over both home affairs and immigration while continuing as the arts minister and leader of the House. Murray Watt will become the employment and workplace relations minister, and Julie Collins will shift to agriculture. NT Senator Mallory McCarthy will replace Linda Burney as Indigenous Australians minister. Pat Conroy has been promoted to the cabinet for defence industry and capability delivery. Albanese emphasized that these changes are not linked to the High Court ruling that led to the release of over 150 immigration detainees but are part of a broader strategy to ensure effective governance. Australian Broadcasting Corporation, Northern Territory Senator Mallory McCarthy and NSW Senator Jenny McAllister are set for promotions in a ministerial reshuffle announced by Prime Minister Anthony Albanese. McCarthy will replace Linda Burney as the Minister for Indigenous Australians, following the defeat of the Voice referendum in October. This reshuffle also addresses vacancies created by the departures of Burney, Brendan O'Connor, and Assistant Minister Carol Brown, who steps down due to health issues. The reshuffle is expected to shift Home Affairs Minister Claire O'Neill and Immigration Minister Andrew Giles to new roles, providing a political reset without altering the Department of Home Affairs structurally. The new appointments come as the government continues to navigate the implications of High Court rulings that may lead to more detainee releases. The Prime Minister will announce these changes at the annual Garma Festival in East Arnhem Land. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.
Morning sunlight on the street, city whispers soft and sweet, faces mix in daily grind, every story intertwined, cultures blend like colors bright, languages in the silent night, on the table stories told, food and feast upon so bold, people living day by day, in the heart they find their way, sharing moments, voices sing, in this world of everything. Society in rhythms beat, entertainment's fleeting heat, echoes of wars and fears, laughing through our unseen tears, children playing in the park, drawing dreams till after dark, elders speak of days gone by, washing shadows from the sky.